Alternatives to Guardianship and the Promise of Supported Decision-Making. The American Civil Liberties Union and the Center for Excellence for Developmental Disabilities at the University of California, Davis, Mind Institute, have created this series of videos to help individuals with disabilities, families, advocates, lawyers, and doctors understand some of the dangers of guardianship and conservatorship and the potential promise of supported decision-making. In video 1, Jonathan Martinez introduces how supported decision-making can protect rights and ensure choices. The second video outlines specific concerns about conservatorship and guardianship. The third video provides an overview of what supported decision-making is and what it looks like. This video is a step-by-step guide to brainstorming about supported decision-making and to implementing a supported decision-making agreement. We will walk you through a worksheet that helps people think about what areas of their lives they need support in. We will then take you through the steps of filling out a supported decision-making agreement and show you examples of how some people with disabilities use supported decision-making in their lives. All of these videos and the documents discussed in them are available at www.aclu.org/SDM. Supported decision-making is an alternative to guardianship that allows a person with a disability to choose trusted advisors to help the person understand, make, or communicate their own choices. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities, people with psychiatric disabilities, and people with dementia are all good candidates for supported decision-making. We will focus primarily on people with developmental and intellectual disabilities in this video. Step 1. Identifying support needs.
We all need support in some areas of our lives. Almost everyone, people with and without disabilities, can make simple choices on our own, and almost all of us need support if we're making complicated or important choices.
One of the good things about supported decision-making is that it can really be tailored to provide support in particular areas of decision-making. So when a court grants a guardianship or conservatorship, typically the court will simply say, the guardian makes all of these decisions, but a supported decision-making agreement is much more tailored to provide support in particular areas.
When do I need or want support is a worksheet to help brainstorm areas in which a person might need or want support and the areas in which they can do things alone. The document goes through a list of important activities in a person's life. For each activity, there are 3 boxes. The box on the left, I can do this alone, is for areas where a person doesn't need any support. The middle box is for activities that the person can do with support. For many people with disabilities, a lot of activities will fall into this category. The third category is, I need someone else to do this for me. These are activities that the person feels that even with support, they're not able to do on their own. Keep in mind that which box you check for a certain activity might change over time.
So, for example, in staying safe at the house, if you are able to remember to turn off the stove, if you remember to lock the doors at night, if you can even remember to change the batteries in the fire alarms when they start beeping at you, then staying safe at home is something that you are doing independently. If, though, for example, you may need a reminder, maybe a phone call or notes put up by the bed to remember, did you lock the door at night? Or if you need someone to come over and help you change the batteries in the fire alarms once a year, that's something that you can do with support. If it's really just too hard to remember to turn off the stove consistently, or even with notes or a phone call, the door doesn't always get locked, then that's something that you need someone else to do for you.
It's very important that the person with disabilities is clear about how they want to be supported, what support they need, and in what context they want the support. Just because you want support in one environment doesn't necessarily mean that you want it in all environments.
How about making choices about clothing? You want me to do that?
Definitely not.
Okay. How about taking care of showering, bathing, personal hygiene?
I think I have that.
Okay. How about remembering to take medication?
Well, I could use some help with that.
Okay.
Step 2. What kinds of supports? In the areas where a person wants support, they should brainstorm about what supports they want or need.
We all make decisions all the time, and we don't always think about the component parts of a decision. But really a decision includes identifying the goal, sort of why we're making a decision. It includes all of the options, like what is the range of choices that could be made. It includes the pros and cons of each choice. It includes what are my values and what's important to me, and so how does that relate to the pros and cons? And then it includes the decision itself. So even though we make decisions really quickly, they include a lot of component parts.
So tell me what your goals are now.
To open my business and be more healthy, be more active. Oh, and be faster and power on the bike.
Charles knows what he wants to do. He just needs help with getting it organized, right? Because you got a million things you want to do. Yeah.
Once you've filled out the "When do I want support" worksheet and brainstormed what kinds of support you might want and thought about which areas you want support in, you can start filling in the supported decision-making agreement. A supported decision-making agreement is a formal record of an agreement between the person with a disability and the trusted individuals that they've chosen to support them in making decisions. The supported decision-making agreement sets out the obligations and expectations for everyone who's part of the agreement. The agreement is signed by everyone involved, but it can be changed at any time.
There are as many ways to do supported decision-making as there are people who need supported decision-making. This is an approach that we have tried and believe can be useful to provide some structure and some guidance, but it is not the gospel.
We're going to walk you through the ACLU's supported decision-making agreement step by step. At the top of the first page, we've noted that the agreement must be read out loud or otherwise communicated in a way that is appropriate for the person with a disability, in the presence of either a notary or two witnesses. The first page is about the person with a disability, including their name, contact information, and the date. This person is called the decider. The first page explains, in plain language, what the document is. It explains that people with disabilities can choose to have people they trust helping them make decisions. It emphasizes that supporters are not making choices for the person with a disability. This page also highlights that the supported decision-making agreement is not set in stone. It can be changed at any time by filling out a new form, crossing out portions, or adding new instructions. At the bottom of the page, there's room for the signature of the person with a disability, the decider. There's a warning that the person should not sign until the notary or two witnesses are present. The next page of the agreement are about the supporters. Anyone can be a supporter as long as the person with a disability chooses them and trusts them to serve in that role.
The supporter is someone who provides advice. The supporter may look at different options, may help evaluate the pros and cons, may help translate information into plain language or help communicate decisions to the outside world. The decider is the individual with a disability.
That is a critical part of a supported decision-making relationship, is that the person being supported chooses who supports them. The most important thing is that the person you choose to be your supporter is someone you trust to respect your decisions, not to make decisions for you.
One of the features of supported decision-making that we like the most is that there's seldom just one supporter. Usually there are two and often three. And so there's more than one person who is checking in to see if someone is doing well, who might be able to recognize if there's a problem, if there's more support that is needed, or if someone is being neglectful or abusive.
So the first section we're going to fill in is supporters. So who do you want for your supporters?
Well, you.
Okay, you want me? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm mom, so I'm going to go under supporter number 1.
When you make a decision, you want to have the people there that you've chosen, right? You want to have meetings at a time that works in your schedule. And you want to talk about your stuff. Now, who is on your team right now who's really important to be at your meetings?
Nigel, Marcus, can't remember that one girl who used to work with me, can't remember her name.
I don't know. But it's people who work with you. Do you have friends who come to your meetings sometimes?
Yeah, Lisa comes.
Mm-hmm. And you're forgetting one of your biggest supporters. She comes to all your meetings if she can.
My mom.
Yes, your mom. Yes.
The pamphlet, What is Supported Decision Making and What Does a Supporter Do?, has information for potential supporters. It outlines what it means to be a supporter and what a supporter does. The second, third, and fourth pages of the agreement are for the first, second, and third supporters. These pages are all the same. We recommend that people use at least 2 supporters, but you can have 3 or more supporters. And supporters might change over time. The supporter puts their name and contact information at the top of the page. Then the supporter and the person with a disability, the decider, choose what areas that the supporter will help in.
A person with a disability might want different supporters to help with different types of decisions. So for example, the young adult with a disability might want their parent supporter to help them with financial decisions, or maybe help them with a lease. If they're signing a lease for an apartment, that would be a very typical role for a parent supporter to provide assistance with. The person with a disability, though, understandably might not want to talk to their parent about romantic relationships or intimate decisions, and so in that case, maybe it would be a sibling or a friend who would provide that type of support. So the agreement can specify which areas go with which supporters.
The first category is personal care. This includes making choices about food and diet, about clothing, about personal hygiene, and about remembering to take medicine. The second category is staying safe. This includes being able to stay safely at home, like locking the door and turning off the stove. It also includes understanding if someone is treating the decider badly and making choices about alcohol and drugs. The third category is the social category, including making decisions about who you live with, who do you hang out with, and whether and where you work. This includes choices about what activities you do and hiring or firing support staff. The fourth category is health choices. This includes everyday decisions about choosing when to see a doctor or dentist and when to take an over-the-counter medication like aspirin. It also includes more major medical issues, like decisions about surgery or major injuries. Finally, it includes support in emergencies. The fifth category is about partners. This includes choices about dating, birth control, sex, pregnancy, and marriage. The sixth category is about money. It includes paying bills on time, keeping a budget, making sure no one takes or misuses money. It also includes big choices, like whether to open a bank account or sign a lease. The last category is for other areas that aren't listed. We encourage people to brainstorm what other areas you might want support in and write them in here. You can also add additional pages if you have even more to add. You go through this process with each of your supporters, choosing where you want each supporter to help you. You can have more than one person helping in some areas and no one helping in other areas. On the fifth page, there's a section about when supporters can talk to each other. Many supporters will want to support each other in their work with the decider, and they may want to talk to each other about their support. But the person with a disability gets to choose whether the supporters can talk to each other about their interactions with the decider. The first box says the supporters can talk to each other only when the decider gives permission, while the second box gives more general permission for the supporters to talk to each other.
So the next part of the agreement is a discussion of whether your supporters can talk about you to one another. And so I know you wanted Nakia to help you maybe more with personal life, and I'm going to be helping you more with things like finances and medical. So do you want us to be able to talk to each other, or should we keep ourselves separate?
Keep yourself safe.
Okay. So I think, here are the two choices are, my supporters can talk to each other about me anytime they want. I don't think that one's right. My supporters can talk to each other about me only when I say it is okay. Okay, we'll check that one.
The next section helps the supporters and decider think about whether they want a regular meeting schedule. You might not know at first whether you want supporters to talk to each other or whether you want to meet regularly. So you can try it out and change it if you decide another approach will work better. You can always make changes to the agreement as you go along.
So you have meetings with your sort of team, right? How often do you have meetings with them?
Every Wednesday.
That's great. And who's in charge of the meetings?
Nigel.
Nigel? And does he have like a list of things that are important to you to talk about? Is that how it usually goes?
Yep.
What is the first thing he says to you every time, Charles?
We're going to have a meeting today.
Right. And then he says, what do you want to talk about today? And you always have at least 10 things you want to talk about.
Yeah, like that. Like one day I want to get together and do a house clean.
The bottom of page 5 has more space for personalization, to write in specific directions or information. The top of page 6 is for the monitor. The monitor is different from the supporter. The monitor is required when a supporter is helping an individual with financial choices. The monitor may only look at financial statements once a month for 10 minutes, but it's an important and separate role that can help prevent financial abuse.
Okay, so I'm going to be helping you with money, and the monitor is someone who will oversee that and make sure that I'm not taking advantage of you. So what it says here is, if I want someone to help me make choices about money, so that's me, I must also choose someone to make sure my supporters are being honest and using good judgment and helping me with my money. This person is called a monitor. The monitor cannot also be a supporter. So who do you think we should use as the monitor? I think we decided somebody. No, I'm the supporter. It has to be someone else. Patty, yeah, we talked about Patty Fitzsimmons. And she's agreed to do that.
The bottom of page 6 refers to 2 additional forms that people using supported decision-making might also want to fill out. The first is a HIPAA authorization that allows some or all supporters to see medical records. The second is a release so that some or all supporters can see school information and speak to school personnel. Pages 7 and 8 are for supporters to sign, agreeing to serve in that role. The consent section emphasizes that the job of a supporter is not to make sure that the person with disabilities makes the best choices in the supporter's view, but to help the individual understand, make, and communicate their own choices. The supporters agree to support the decider's choices to the best of their ability, honestly, and in good faith.
I'm going to fill out this one. So it says, I, Claudia Center, consent to ask as Christopher Kohler supporter under this agreement. I understand that my job as a supporter is to honor and express his wishes. My support might include giving Christopher information in a way he can understand, discussing pros and cons of decisions, and helping Christopher communicate his choices. I know that I may not make decisions for this person. I agree to support Christopher's decisions to the best of my ability, honestly, and in good faith. Well, I definitely agree with that.
At the bottom of page 8 is a space for the monitor to sign. The monitor is only needed if the decider is getting help with their money. Finally, on page 9, we have space for the notary or 2 witnesses to sign. This is important to encourage everyone involved to give the document appropriate weight and respect. You do not need both a notary and 2 witnesses. You can choose which approach is easier for you. We hope that this has been a good introduction to implementing supported decision-making. If you enjoyed this video, please watch the other 3 videos in this series. In video 1, Jonathan Martinez introduces how supported decision-making can protect rights and ensure choices. The second video outlines specific concerns about conservatorship and guardianship. The third video provides an overview of what supported decision-making is and what it looks like.